I am actually based in Abuja.
Okay.
And I was posted there in 2012, and I've been there since. And to God be the glory, I have every reason to say it's been a very productive years of being there. And so that's essentially it.
Okay, well, thank you, ma'am. And your qualification, the schools attended?
Well, I mean, I was actually born here in Ede, believe it or not. I was born in Ede about 6 years ago.
Okay.
Actually, next week Wednesday, exactly, to be exact.
On the 16th. So very good.
Yes, I thank God for every day of my life. And so the journey started here in Ede. And before I was 40 days old, I was taken back to Lagos because my mom came, being the first timer. She came to help me where our in-laws were to assist in doing the caring for the infant, me. So anyway, we thank God. I mean, before the 40 days, apparently I was taken back to Lagos. And there I was at age 5. I went to a boarding school in the tourism school. And from there, I went to Girls' Grammar School in Jebuko. And I actually did finish my school start there. But my father, being who he is, he loves education so much.
Okay.
And that has been the tradition, being the first. What I got, in the sense that immediately after your school start, yes, I'm the first, yes. And starting from me, after your O levels here in Nigeria, you still go back. And my father is of the view that, okay, no matter what you did in Nigeria, no matter how good your grades were, when you need to get acclimatized to the way of the schooling system, and which is quite different, to be honest with you. And so you need to go back. Except for a few of us that actually went all the way, like in primary 4 and secondary school, group 4 in those days. Apart from very few of us, there are 13 of us, and to God be the glory, we all went to school following my own pattern. So you come to secondary school in Nigeria, you go back and do your O levels, and you take it from there. And that's exactly what I did. I mean, I went to St. Mary's School Wantage. It's a boarding school in England, and from there I proceeded to do my A levels, and from there I ended up at the University of Buckingham, where I did my law degree. I did my LLB, and thereafter I proceeded to London School of Economics, where I did my LLM, which is a master's in law. And then I came home for law school and youth corps. From there I started working with Chase Merchant Bank. And Chase Merchant Bank became Continental Merchant Bank. It's been a long time. We're talking about the 80s. So thereafter I worked in Nigeria for about 10 years. And after that I actually worked with the Ministry of Justice. I worked as a counsel for I'm getting old now. Legal Aid Council, yes, Legal Aid Council. And what we did was we actually defended people with any offenses dealing with murder, very grievous homicide, and then rape, and for these people that are not able to defend themselves, so the state would give them counsel to defend them. So that was what I did for a couple of years. And then I just said, look, I need to go to the private practice. And that was where I was until I went to England. I went to America. And the other idea was to go back and do my New York path. But one thing leading to the other, I found greener pastures when I got to America. So I was there. I worked with Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Great Atlanta, and is the second, it is the leader in consumer credit counseling issues, because in America is very big on credit. And when I got there, I remember when I got in, I bought my car cash down and all that, but it still worked against me, because when it came to apply for other things, they said, where's your credit? I was like, where I come from, we don't buy things of credit. You buy when you can afford it. He said, this is not America. So, and that was why I actually pitched my tent where I worked. I worked with Consumer Credit Counseling Service. And what we did was we dealt with those customers that they have over burden themselves with debt. And America, the same shopping mall the president will go, a cleaner will go there so long as you have the money, and nobody takes around money. You have your credit card, all you need to do is swipe. And so maybe by the time they finish swiping and all that, boom, they find themselves in deep trouble. So they needed agencies like mine to actually get them out of it. Now what we did was, we already had pre-arrangement with all the credit counseling, thousands of them. So you cancel them, and what you try to do is put them on a budget, whereby in pay back the loan, the debt, they're not actually taking food from the table. So we give them what they call bare bone budget. We take away, if you're dining out 4 times a week, a month, you reduce it to 1 or 0. If you're doing your nails, you have to get that down. So we kind of help them adopt a more to acquire financial discipline, so that they can, while they're paying off their credit. So instead of paying $100 a month, we can bring it down to like 25. We give them, and then sometimes we have to tell the creditor, please, this person can't afford it, please forgive them. So they might forget maybe 50% of that, and they put on operations, provided to pay for 10 months consecutively without defaulting, we write the rest off. So those are the kind of things. And then also for those ones that have overstrained themselves and they have the risk of losing their homes, they're filing bankruptcy. So my job then was to counsel them, and if I feel that they really needed to file bankruptcy, then you now help them, you give them a letter to the court. Because in America, a lot of people, I'm sorry to say, they'll go there, they know what they're doing, they overcharge, they do everything, and when it's time to pay, when it's about time to foreclose on their homes, they go to court and file bankruptcy. So we now got a lot of creditors saying, look, you are now the middleman between us and these consumers. But are you aware that most consumers, they go there, rack up their bills, don't pay their mortgages, and when they know it's time for them to foreclose on them, they run back to bankruptcy. So we now came up with the help of the city hall, we came up with the legislation that was actually passed in the state of Georgia, which says that before you can file for bankruptcy, you must give them a certificate saying that truly and honestly they're bankrupt. Imagine somebody, I had a client, the guy was 27, and he had bills in the millions. Isn't that he was going shopping? He had a medical condition and he didn't have a health insurance, so invariably they will treat you like a year, they will treat you, so the bills are waiting. So but the guy was in deep debt, so we had to approach you. So situations like that. So that was what I did, and I enjoyed doing that. You understand? And so that was where I was. I was doing that while I was there. God was so good. My promotion was rapid. From being the ordinary counselor, I moved to become weekend supervisor. From weekend supervisor, I became a manager. From manager, I became a regional manager. And my job as a regional manager was very, very daunting and tasking. I had 9 branches. But the unfortunate thing about my branches is that I had, for those that know Georgia, I had a branch in downtown Atlanta, I had one in Tacoma, Gainesville. It's like having a branch. You're sitting here in Oshun, and you have a branch in Lagos, you have one in
Port Harcourt.
Port Harcourt. So, but the issue we had there was connectivity issues, because in America, there's nothing you can do without being connected to the main server, to the database. So everything you're doing with your plant, as you're talking to them, you're actually putting your and everything is going to the server. If you cannot get to the server, you're not doing anything. So my job as the regional manager was to make sure my offices, my branches are connected to the main server, which was a huge issue. And how did I had to go to the mayor of the council, go to some of the legislators to kind of talk to them and try and just get them on our side. And in the process of doing that, I was acquiring a skill that I didn't know was going to be useful to me here in Nigeria. Because when I got this job, I remember Governor Ralph Arabeshola coming to the Exco chamber and say, Ilya Babalola, special advice on federal matters, you're on your own. I was like, what is he talking about? And I was like, I was going about from one office to the other. I said, what are you doing? Go and report in Abuja. And I was like, just like that. So I got to Abuja, and how was I to connect with my principal. How was I to now get my job done? You understand? It meant being online. It meant doing a lot of electronic approvals and stuff. And so one day, Governor Rebecca said to me, because there are times when he would shoot me, and for those of us that know Ogbeni very well, he would do all his face-to-face governance during the day, and in the evening at night, maybe around 1, 2 o'clock, then he sits down and he's like checking his numbers off. And so one day around 3 a.m., he sent me a message to my request, and I shot back to him, and I replied almost immediately. And when he saw me, he said, "Don't you sleep? How do you do it?" And I was like, "It's a grace of God." And my experience, because like I was saying earlier on, because I was superintending a lot, I had close to 70 staff. You understand? And they're all dotted all over the face of North America. And so in order for me to be able to go get a job going, I had to be on the phone. Luckily for me, I had a boss who was very considerate. He actually they wired my house so I could telecommute, so that I didn't have to be in my office to actually have my meetings, my weekly meetings, to have my weekly reviews with my staff. So that made it easy. So because of that, I didn't know God was preparing me for this. For this job. Because exactly what I was doing. Initially, I thought I was being witch hunted, being black. But I didn't know that God was taking me through a school, a tutelage that was going to help me, that was going to stand me in good stead now. And I give God the praise for that, because it's just so easy for me. You understand? So the time I thought I was being picked up because I wasn't American, but I didn't know that God was actually taking me through that experience, so that now I can fall back. And it's really helped me. So I can be anywhere. One day I was sitting with Governor Itola. He said, "You're always on your phone." I'm like, okay. I said to him, "Sir, I'm working." You understand? I could be sitting there, be connected, and we all do that. You don't have to see my face. You understand? Short of the only thing that I need to be here physically is when it comes to school meetings. But from that, I can work anywhere, so long as I have service on my phone, which is what I have learned from that job that I thought I was being enchanted. But I found out every experience you will all go through is to get to an expected end, which initially we might not say it. So I'm a firm believer in whatever happens, that's designed by God. So
well, thank you. You were a former legislator in the Osun State House of Assembly. When was that?
2007 to 11.
During Prince.
Yes.
You know, we learned you were the only female legislator then, among the 26 legislators. Being the only female, what were your contributions to the health? Or were you given your male counterparts, were you given the opportunity by them to perform your legislative functions?
Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, I mean, being the only female.
Let me add this. Generally, at that house then, what was your experience?
Initially, because I just came, and because I was not part of the park, the old park, a lot of them didn't know how to approach me, in the sense that they don't. I mean, usually a lot of people that end up in the House of Assembly, either at one time or the other, you were a councillor or you were there in the political scene. But here is a new kid in town. Nobody knows who she is apart from her name. So, and I was like, okay. So I was learning them. I guess they were looking at me. But apart from the initial, and it wasn't rough. It was just initial, you know, when you go to a new school or when we're all young, you get to class and you size each other up. You understand? And I think apart from that initial sizing up, everything was seamless, because soon they realized I have a sense of humor that, you know, they will say things that sometimes I'm like, oh my God, that's rude. You know, they make men with a sick joke about, you know. The only one I found is when they start talking about women's sexuality. I was like, no, don't go there. That's sexual harassment if you don't know it. But honestly, it's like I was with my 25 brothers. Honestly, and in that particular house, we had 11 AC and ACN, as we want to call them, as they there were, and we had about how many was 16?
Yeah, 16.
Yes. Yeah.
PDP.
Oh, was it? Yeah, PDP. Yeah. And to be honest with you, we didn't even see the difference. Apart from the day when we were going to do the swearing in, and some of our colleagues were picked up for some reason, Apart from that, I mean, nobody. We all spoke the same language, and. In fact, we looked at each other sometimes and I was like, can we ever have that kind of house again?
Well, madam, let me ask you this question. You can't be an honorable member without being a politician. And I can see you're a politician. If I may ask, what led you into politics? Do you have passion for it?
That's a good question. To be honest with you, I tell people I got into politics by providence. As I was telling you all along, I was working at a job, 2nd of July, I think 2005 or thereabout. My dad called me and said, some people want to see you in Nigeria. And I came home for my vacation. I came back to America barely 3 months, then this call came. And while I was here, because my last child was going to university, so she was going to college, and I figured that once she goes into college, what else am I waiting for in America? But to come back home and come back to my practice. So by the time I came, I'd gone, did a lot of leg work, spoke to some judges, pulled strings here, pulled strings there. And I thought when Dad called me, it was one of my links had actually clicked. So honestly, that was what I thought I was coming to. So he just said, some people want to see you in Nigeria. I was like, okay, Daddy, you're not coming home for my sister's wedding in 2 weeks. He said, no, you can't wait. They want to see you like yesterday. I was like, Dad, this is America. 2nd of July. And he wanted me to be in Nigeria the next day. I said, it doesn't work out like that. So, of course, I quickly got, luckily being a senior manager there, I was able to call the vice president who was actually supervising my department. I was like, I have a family emergency. I need to be in Nigeria. And he was like, oh, no, we think everything's all right. I was like, I think so. Of course, you have to for them to let you go. You can't say, my dad called me and I'm leaving. In America, when you're 18, your dad can just call me. So I said, well, there's a family emergency I have to go into. So everybody empathize, we hope everything is well, so I now got on the flight. By the 5th, I was here in Nigeria, 5th of July. And I remember getting home, and at about midnight, my dad's steward brought me an envelope, and there it was, application to go to House of Assembly. And the picture they used was my call to bar picture, where my glasses were like 2 TVs on, and I had it like this. They had gone to corporate and made it like a passport, and that's what they applied with. And I noticed that everything had been done. And maybe, coincidentally, that who said I should come home was out of the country. So I waited the break. I said, Daddy, did you see what they... I said, your brothers made their delegates. They're the ones, and they won't see the good path and tell you to go into the bush. That personally doesn't want you to go into the bush, but if that is what they want. I said, but Dad, they throw chairs. They hold things at each other, not to talk about that, and they're very diabolical, all these politicians. I said, can I resign if I don't like it? I said, I was never had anybody resign it. Anyway, that was how I went. I came to where I found my face, my mug on t-shirt, I was like, I kept pinching myself, like, am I really seeing double or what is it? But you see, whatever God has decreed, it shall be so. So from that we went, and then I was to make a speech at the party secretariat, and I just spoke from the heart. It doesn't take a rocket science to know that things are not working in certain aspects in our country. So I spoke to those points and said, you're a pro. You're a pro for it. I just spoke my mind. So from there, I kept going back and forth to America because I had not resigned my job. 3 weeks here, 2 weeks there, until, and of course, people who were at home, who had planned that they were going to a House of Assembly, everybody, the table was virtually set. And all came, and everything just changed the whole narrative. And so people were not very happy with me. And I know that I had a very turbulent primaries. I had a very turbulent election. To God be the glory. We say because God has decreed it. So, and that's where we are. And from being in the House of Assembly, Obeni came barely 6 months at the end of our tenure, and I tried to go back the second term. But God did not decree that I go. And so, Obeni offered me a position in his cabinet. And of course, I want to, how can you offer? It's never happened before. The PDP candidate, PDP, not just peripheral of
shows the Lord is understanding.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, that when God is in the business, you just sit back and let him do the driving. So I found myself there, and when I got into the cabinet, my prayers were, Lord, make me the salt of this cabinet. And that was my simple prayer. And I believe, because if you're cooking and there's no salt, what do you do? And God has salt. Those are my prayers. And I prayed that, and I was like, God, just be with me. Clothe me with garment of favor. Let me find favor in the presence of God and man. And that's what I do. That's how I always do. And I tell God, may your will be done. And that's why, honestly, I don't. When you look at the way I wasn't saying. The primary school I went, my dad was a tenant in a house in Sweden. The landlord was taking his children to. And in those days, when you say children's home school, it was not one of the best. And then they now turned to my father and said, like, why don't you let him go with them? And I thank God that my father said, no. My father said, yes. That was how I got him to it. And even when I was going to university, that I should tell you, and when I was in England, I did my own letters, did everything. My friend, she's now late, she was not going to apply to Buckingham University. And that day there was another party, it was a party down. So I was not interested in that party. So I said, let's go. I said, she did that night, we'll go to it. So I went, and when we got there, she was not going to apply. And I sat there. She sat like on this side, I sat on that side. And of course the secretary, she came, I said, she brought 2 forms and she went like this. Here. And I said, no, I'm not there to fill the form. My friend said, just take it down and fill it. She came from Nigeria. So by that time, I've not had a lot of people speak Yoruba. Okay. Nobody spoke Yoruba. Because when I was in school in England, from school, my guardian, who happens to be white in Tilbury, the Caucasian, they would come and get me from the train station we're going on. So for almost 4 years, I didn't have interactions. Even when my father came, he was speaking to me in English because my guardians were there before the thing. So it was rude, so we spoke. So when I now got this, my friend, she was just about a year or 2 older than me. She would speak Yoruba, and that used to tickle me. She said, I don't confuse the job. And I just completed the form like, and I completed the form, of course. Come evening, we went and rocked the party in Joda's house. Like a week later, Royal Mail came. She got a letter of rejection.
She was friend.
Yes. And me that, I was on attention. And he said, Lola, why don't you call? I said, why is your own letter of rejection? The letter didn't come. So he said, Lola, why don't you call the school? I knew I was not going to be given the place, so I was scared. So when she wasn't looking, I picked the phone. I said, hello, my name is Lola Babalola. I was there about 2 weeks ago to apply. I said, wait a minute, she was thinking about Tola. Okay. We both know the difference between the T and the, like, what did you say your name is? I said, Lola Babalola. I said, oh, Miss Babalola, I'm pleased to inform you, you've been offered a place in our law school. And when you're studying, the rest I didn't hear. Okay? I tell my dad in Nigeria, I said, Dad, I've been offered a place in law school. My father, are you sure it's not from there? So, anyway, I went in there, and God has been so good. From that time, honestly, I thought I was just there, average student. But when I got to university, believe me, I became a trailblazer. And the funny is that some of the people, some of them are around, when we're in school, I would be the one crying that I would study. The next they come, a week to the exam, 2 days to the exam, I'll go blank. So you can actually set the clock by it. They say, the last come again, and then the result will come out the extension. And they used to think I was acting. I was like, no, but God has always been there.
You are indeed a human of substance.
God has always been there.
A human to emulate.
It is God. It is God.
Well, madam, time is no more on our side. So I want to add this. You know, in this life, the life is full of ups and downs.
Yes.
Can you please tell us the most challenging period of your life?
The most challenging was when I lost my husband.